Cynthia, please explain your story of what you had been through, what your children had been through, and how the foster care system benefited your family.
Well, so I'm Cynthia Scott. I was a heroin addict for over 23 years. I was in and out of prison, in and out of jail. My last stint in jail was in 2009. Literally was released October 24th of 2009. In between that time, my children, my addiction started when my children were victims of a horrific crime back when they were 5 and 6. And so I went into a bathroom with a spoon and a needle, and I stayed there for over 23 years. And so my children were in and out of foster care. There were times when I got them, then they went back. Got them, they went back. So the foster care system was really involved in our life. When I finally got myself together, because I'm going to kind of shorten it because I'm going to tell it at the event, but when I finally got myself together, I went to go get wanted my children, of course. Like the first thing is like, oh my God, I want my kids. And I had actually lost all rights to my children. So I had lost all rights to my children, but I didn't give up. I went down to the courthouse, and I ended up in front of the same judge who had taken my rights from me.
Oh, wow.
He didn't recognize me. He thought that I was an attorney in there because I had changed so drastically. When I told him that I was there and I wanted my children, but that I now lived in another state, well, there was a controversy of me trying to get my children from California. And the social services at first were like, well, you know, if you want your kids, you got to stay in California. And I was like, I can't stay here. You know what I mean? I'll be on drugs. I want a new start. I'm in Arizona now.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I did. So I myself went directly to the foster people as well once I got in contact with them. And I just went and knocked on the door.
Wow.
Hey, I want to see my kids. I have my life together. I want to see my kids. And I repeated that process once a month, caught the Greyhound from Arizona down to California, and repeated that process once a month. And finally, I was at work one day, and they called me. Mm-hmm. And the foster parent, they called me, and they felt as though the children needed to come home. And they literally sent me my son, I think the next morning at 9:30 in the morning. I went and picked him up from the airport, and I never looked back. Mm-hmm. My son and daughter, my older 2 children who were victims of this crime, are now in the medical field. My daughter holds a doctorate now, and she also does a lot with foster care. She does a whole lot with foster care. I can't even begin. She actually is on. Yeah, she'll be speaking. Matter of fact.
Awesome.
Okay, she's on LinkedIn commercial behind foster care and the things that she's done in the foster care community. My son actually also is in the medical field. He's working on his doctorate. He's an RN. And he does a lot of donating his time and medical services to immigrants who are coming over here that they're not getting medical care when they're being held and detained. So he's one of the nurses that come and volunteer to make sure they're in good health. My other daughter, who actually was one of the children that I got out of foster care, I recently went to her graduation. Matter of fact, on Friday, she graduated from LVN school, and she's getting into the foster care system as far as helping. It's very important to me that our community knows that there are success stories from foster care. Sometimes, and there's a lot of things that happen. I did a video with Ask Foundation last year where my son was asked my son and I did it, some very touchy questions. And one of the things that he said that a lot of times you don't know that the foster parents are going through is that living with me as a heroin addict, they were in a very abnormal situation. Mm-hmm. They weren't going to school every day. They weren't getting medical care. They weren't getting breakfast at 8. You know what I mean? And so when they were put in foster care, they thought it was abnormal when all these things were happening. Mm-hmm. So there was that problem there. You know, so we have to realize that these foster parents are dealing with a lot of this type of stuff. It is very important that as far as training, I think that is one of the most powerful things that we can bring to the table is training when we have these foster parents. Because the people who took care of my children, they went to different places. And the people who took care of my children did an excellent job. They never stole the commitment of me with my children from them. Mm-hmm. They never did anything bad. A lot of times you hear these stories, oh, they degrade the parents, this and that. That was not the case. Mm-hmm. And I think that story needs to be told. They built me up, and even at the time that I got my children, when I went back to California, I've taken them to visit. I've taken them to visit as well. So it has definitely been a good experience for me. After I got here, I literally came with nothing. I came with $180 on a food stamp card and a promise from my son, like, hey, I'll just give you a place so you can start over. Today we have Nickel City Baby. I met my husband in 2014. We started we started Nickel City Baby, and now we opened up Mr. Nickel City because we wanted to just not only give back to the women, because 55 cents of everything we sell go back. We use that to clothe women for free who are getting out of prison, battered homes, and sober living. But we weren't able to do anything for the men and children in our community because we only had a women's store. So now with the men, we do that, and with the children that are in foster care, we clothe them for free.
That's amazing. I love that story. And again, she's going to share more at the Eye Care Fashion Show Saturday, December 28th. The Kimpton Hotel, Palomares, 2 East Jefferson Street in Phoenix. Tickets are available now. And how do they get these tickets?